The fear of the undead sends a terrifying chill down the spines of those living. A brutally savage nightmare, the legend of the flesh-eating zombie slithering through a hysterical town goes far in history. When this chaotic apocalypse is met with everyday frivolity in a film, you get ridiculous plots and hilarious punchlines, which keep your eyes hooked to the screen. As corpses are infected and reanimated, they wake up and stretch their hands in an unquenchable thirst for contaminating human bodies and feasting on human brains. Thus they multiply, causing panic and hysteria across people, government, and society, hailing the dawn of the zombie apocalypse. So, without much ado, let's explore the 10 most hilarious zombie movies of all time. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Number 10. Shaun of the Dead, 2004. At 29 years with no real ambition, Shawn rarely gives a duck in life. Naturally, his family, friends, and his girlfriend Liz are pretty pissed at him. All he does is drink and play video games to deal with his monotonous life and his dead-end job, where he's constantly walked over. It's only his best friend and roommate, Ed, who truly gets him. Life takes an unexpected turn when a massive zombie uprising occurs in London. These are flesh-hungry beasts who turn the city into a living nightmare. Shawn would have gone on with his sloth had the lives of his girlfriend and her mother not been at stake. Shawn steps up, determined to save the duo, and his first real challenge is to navigate the zombie-infested streets and fight off the undead along the way. As he struggles to prove that he's more than just a guy stuck in a rut, will Shawn succeed in proving his worth, or will he succumb to the fatal clutches of these cannibalistic monsters? Shawn's journey is not only one of courage and loyalty to his loved ones, but also a quest for survival amidst a raging zombie apocalypse. Now, I really love that this film is quintessential British humor, and that makes it one of the all-time fan faves. It's actually hilarious how much time Ed and Shawn take to realize that something is really wrong, but its genius does not lie in its innovativeness. Directed by Edgar Wright, Shaun of the Dead was partially inspired by the classic zombie flick Dawn of the Dead. It doesn't end there. Creator George Romero was apparently really impressed with Shawn and gave both Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright cameo roles in Romero's latest installment, Land of the Dead. An interviewer once asked why the writers chose to have slow and stealthy zombies instead of fast-paced zombies scurrying through the city. Pegg simply said, "Because death is not an energy drink," and I think that's a pretty iconic remark. Number 9. Zombieland, 2009. It has been 2 months since the US has been reeling under the outbreak of a mutated mad cow disease. It's kind of uncanny how the film anticipated COVID almost a decade ago. Anyway, things have gone out of hand as a global zombie apocalypse shapes order in the new world. For instance, you shouldn't be emotionally attached to someone because they may die at any moment. People don't even call each other by their names. Columbus, a cautious college student, has managed to survive, following some thumb rules like looking in the back seat, double tapping, and avoiding public restrooms. Determined to find his family, he heads towards Ohio. On his way, he meets the brutal Tallahassee, a sadistic zombie slayer who allows Columbus to join him. Their journey takes a different course when they encounter Wichita and Little Rock, two sisters with their own survival tactics. How will they navigate the new world? Can each one fend for themselves amidst this global pandemic? Will relying on each other come at a cost? What I really appreciate about this film is that it doesn't beat around the bush. It begins right in the middle of a crisis, with a hilarious introduction as Columbus lists his survival rules. There's gut-wrenching action, absolutely unexpected friendships, and mind-blowing plot twists in the backdrop of a severe zombie crisis. Ruben Fleischer did a pretty good job with his direction. The events in the film are so hilarious, you'll think that the makers were on pot. In fact, you know what? Shoot was delayed because Woody Harrelson was arrested for possessing marijuana during the film production. Number 8. Braindead, 1992. Lionel Cosgrove is a miserable bachelor, sharing the roof with his overbearing mother Vera. He finally finds love when he meets a kind-hearted grocery clerk named Paquita. Just as things begin to look cheerful, fate would have it otherwise. After a trip to the zoo, his mother is bitten by a malicious creature, the Sumatran rat monkey, which triggers a deadly transformation in Vera. The infection spreads, and Vera loses touch with her humanity. The fatal bite has made her a cruel matriarch who now oozes pus, feeds on flesh, and has turned into the living dead. Dogs, nurses, friends, neighbors, her insatiable hunger spares no one. Lionel's home turns into a den of reanimated corpses, with his dead mother being the greatest menace. Can Lionel clean up his mess at home and keep the girl, or is he doomed forever? This film underwent quite a few changes during the making. Initially called Braindead, it was later renamed as Dead Alive, and it has all the spice that a crazy zombie movie needs. A horrifying rat monkey, a baby zombie, zombies having sex, gratuitous violence, extreme gore, a super fighting ninja priest, the list goes on. Can you think of a better character ensemble than an evil, annoying mom that turns into a zombie, a womanizing relative that is a pathetic loser, and an old psychic that predicts the future? Fans just love how Peter Jackson, the director, added the perfect dose of silliness to make the film quirky, visceral, over the top, violent, gory, extreme, and even sweet in a way. When the film was initially released in its home turf of New Zealand, it earned more per screen than Batman Returns, which was also released in 1992. Crazy, right? Number 7. Dead Snow, 2009. A ski trip goes devastatingly wrong for a group of medical students when they literally run into Nazi zombies. Martin, Roy, and Erlin travel with their friend Vegard to meet Hannah, Liv, and Chris at an abandoned cabin in Oaksfjord. Now, this cabin is basically owned by Vegard's girlfriend, Sarah, but when they arrive, Sarah's missing, and the group thinks that she's out in the snow for sports. Soon, a mysterious traveler shows up and tells them the lore of the local resistance against Nazi soldiers during World War II. They were not only hunted, but also frozen to death. When Vegard ventures out to find Sarah the next day, his friends are attacked by Nazi zombies, led by the evil commander Herzog. What ensues is a fight for survival against all odds of nature. Will the group make it to the end, or will they meet the same fate as their Nazi predators? Oddly enough, the creatures shown in the film are a mix of classic zombies from pop culture and drogs from ancient Norse mythology. You must be wondering what drogs are. Director Tommy Wirkola seems to be inspired by the legend of these zombie-like creatures that essentially guard hoards of treasure that are found in the graves of important men. In spite of a brilliant premise, the movie is really slow and uneventful, which have left fans low-key disappointed, especially after the hype it created. But Dead Snow is full of comedy and gore, paying tribute to the legacy of horror classics like Evil Dead and Braindead. While fans do find it a bit campy, the horror does keep up when needed. Moreover, the makers have done some really good job with the special effects. Overall, it's a fun watch, and a Blu-ray version is definitely worth keeping. Number 6. Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, 2015. Utter chaos ensues when a careless janitor accidentally unleashes a zombie from a research lab. Meanwhile, teenagers Ben Goody and Carter Grant have outgrown their scouting journey and plan one last camping trip to avoid hurting their friends Augie Foster and scout leader Rogers. On their way, a flat tire leads to their encounter with Carter's sister Kendall, her boyfriend, and their friend Chloe. Having offered them a ride, they invite them to a party. As Ben and Carter head to the party later that night, they find the town weirdly empty. They stumble across a nightclub where they discover, to their utter horror, that the people have turned into living zombies. They team up with Denise Russo, a bartender, and Augie, who's come to town looking for them. They realize that the government plans to bomb the town, and that's why people are being evacuated. They have to save Kendall. But what will they do when they find that the address her boyfriend gave her was wrong? With a screenplay that made it to the 2010 blacklist of popular unmade scripts, Scout's Guide is a classic slapstick zombie horror directed by Christopher Landon. Fans love it specifically for how mindless yet entertaining the film is. I really like the fact that the film's trampoline escape scene is taken from the classic Super Nintendo game Zombies Ate My Neighbors, 1993. Where trampolines help characters jump between gardens. It isn't the best film out there, but if you enjoy movies like Tucker and Dale vs. Evil and Cooties, you'll love this one as well. Number 5. Warm Bodies, 2013. R is a young, introspective undead who inhabits a world plagued by zombies. While attacking a human scavenger group, he meets Julie. He feels a strong protective instinct toward her, and this sparks a fire in his heart that begins to restore his lost humanity. As the news of R's transformation spreads across the zombie community, the duo faces challenges from both human survivors and aggressive zombies, especially bonies, who are the brutal zombies that are completely stripped of their humanity. R and Julie must find a way to unite the living and the undead to fight for a future that no one can imagine. The real question is, can they? In the original book, R is depicted as a corporate zombie, wearing a black suit and red tie, with a zombie family to care for. The film changes that, portraying him as a younger, more relatable character in jeans and a hoodie. This film surprisingly predates many of the popular horror rom-coms that were to create a lasting impact in the hearts of fans. But it's nothing like Twilight, in spite of having some pretty attractive leads. Jonathan Levine's direction crafts a story of cold hearts thawing in the warmth of love and connection. In spite of notable similarities, I find it quite different from Shaun of the Dead, which focuses solely on comedy, whereas this one balances humor with genuinely heartfelt moments and occasional satire. The chemistry between the leads is quite breathtaking, well directed, well written, and genuinely engaging. It exceeded expectations and has gained a cult following in the zombie genre. Number 4. The Return of the Living Dead, 1985. Tragedy strikes when Frank, the foreman at a medical supply warehouse in Kentucky, accidentally unleashes a toxic gas called trioxin. Now, this gas reanimates a cadaver, leading Frank, Freddy, and their boss Bert to kill the zombie. They discover that body parts can survive even when they are separated. Left with no choice, they decide to incinerate the corpse. The worst is yet to come. The fumes of the gas contaminate the whole air around them, causing toxic rain that revives corpses from the nearby cemetery. Freddy's girlfriend Tina and her friends, Spider, Trash, Chuck, Casey, Scuzz, and Suicide arrive at the cemetery just in time to face the zombie outbreak. Trash is compromised and becomes one of the undead. These zombies can feel their bodies rotting and crave to feed on brains to ease their pain. As Frank and Freddy start turning into zombies, Bert locks them in a chapel. Freddy then attacks Tina, forcing Bert and Spider to intervene. When the police is overwhelmed and Bert contacts the military, Colonel Glover orders a nuclear strike on Louisville, killing the survivors. As the city burns, toxic rain falls again, and the undead scream from their graves, hinting that the horror is far from over. This American horror comedy is Dan O'Bannon's directorial debut, and it is quite possibly one of the most hilarious scripts ever made, in spite of some over-the-top editing. Instances of dark humor has won the hearts of fans. For instance, think of the way the characters act sensibly even in outrageous situations. Everything has gone bonkers, and you're trying to use logic and rationale amidst all of this? Moreover, the insane range of bizarre moments in the film perpetually kept me on edge, like trying to kill a zombie with a pickaxe, then resorting to sawing its head off, and finally incinerating it while fabricating a story about rabid weasels. A hilarious zombie classic, don't you think? Number 3. Little Monsters, 2019. David is a stereotypical foul-mouthed, unlucky loser, and he has got just one chance to impress his nephew's kindergarten teacher, Miss Caroline. So, he volunteers as a chaperone for a class field trip. However, things take a deadly turn when a nearby army base accidentally triggers a zombie outbreak in the region. Now, Miss Caroline's class has no choice but to survive this epidemic until the military comes to their aid. To make matters worse, the kids have to contend with a certain Mr. Teddy McGiggles, who happens to be a rude, alcoholic, sex-obsessed TV clown. And this guy proves to be more of a threat than the zombies themselves. Talk about David getting really low on luck, huh? As much as I love this film, I can't help but admit that it fails to deliver at times. Like, are you telling me that these absolutely ravenous zombies are not capable of tearing down a simple wooden gift shop, or crawling through a gate with massive holes, or stopping the slowest driving tractor in the world? Abe Forsyth's direction may be sloppy, but it does catch eyeballs. It looks like the people in the film were really invested in its making. Take, for example, the gorgeous Lupita Nyong'o. Initially, the producers were unable to secure the rights to Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. So guess what Nyong'o, personally a huge fan of the song, did? She straight away reached out to the singer and bagged the rights. Army of Darkness, 1992. The mysterious and dark tentacles of evil spread across time and space. Right after the supernatural events of Evil Dead 2 of 1987, Ash is transported to a different dimension altogether. Now stranded in the Middle Ages, the battle-scarred Ash from the distant 14th century must fight tooth and nail against the same old adversary he had confronted in The Evil Dead of 1981. However, this time he's knee-deep in trouble. Not one, not two, rather, the entire army of demonic forces is after Ash, thirsting wildly for his human soul. For Ash, there's no turning back. On one hand, the curse of the mystical Necronomicon looms over. On the other hand, Ash is armed with only a chainsaw and a 12-gauge double-barreled shotgun. Can he blast through evil and save both the worlds? While some claim that the film is not as good as its prequel, we are happy that Bruce Campbell is back, and he's funnier than ever with his one-liners. Ash returning for a third adventure makes fans go batshit crazy. As for the plot, Army of Darkness is pretty innovative in its genre. The creators were not just rehashing and reselling whatever it is that made Evil Dead 1 and 2 popular. With sword-swinging skeletons, kickboxing witches, and slapstick, there's no way Sam Raimi's direction of supernatural horror comedy can go wrong, and this one went on to bag at least 12 awards and 6 nominations. One Cut of the Dead, 2017. The film revolves around a crew of filmmakers and actors who have been hired to create a zombie horror movie. This was supposed to be shot in a single continuous take, intending to telecast it on live TV. The first part of the movie presents One Cut of the Dead as a film within the film, before rewinding and revealing the project's origins. All those behind-the-scenes chaos was shown from the perspective of the cast and crew. The story kicks off when director Higurashi is invited by a Japanese TV network to shoot a low-budget short film in an abandoned factory located 2 hours from Tokyo. This site, once used by the Japanese military during World War II for experiments on reviving the dead, becomes the canvas of the film. As the actors encounter real zombies, Higurashi cleverly turns their genuine fear into a resource. Using reality to enhance the film's authenticity, he lives by the motto that the show must go on, no matter what. The Japanese film industry has some pretty unique narrative takes when it comes to the whole hilarious horror genre, and this film is absolutely mind-boggling, all thanks to the director Shinichiro Ueda's innovation. The more I get to know about this film, the more amazed I get, and I'll tell you why. First, the film was made on a tight budget of just $25,000. But it went on to earn over $25 million. And secondly, interestingly enough, many of the cast members initially had to pay to be part of the project, as it was the final product of an acting and directing workshop called the Enbu Seminar. Now that's unexpectedly crazy stuff, don't you think? Marvelous verdict. Zombie horror comedies have gained a cult following over the years. It literally brings two of the best things there can be: horror and comedy. And who doesn't like ravenous zombies walking through the streets like Frankenstein's monster and munching on human brains? The ruckus and disorder they create is enough to make entire civilizations collapse. Add to that, a stupid hero making stupid decisions with his stupid group of friends, none of whom realize the gravity of the situation. As they goof off, the fear of survival never spares them for a moment. The thing with this genre of zombie horror comedy is that you cannot expect the films to be serious. They were never meant to keep you on your feet with jump scare horror, nor were they meant to be a purely comic banter. They are stupid and thrilling, and we absolutely love that. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, be safe, and thanks everyone.